Talofa lava and welcome to the Global Pasifika Success Podcast. I'm Andrew Tuivai, your host. Every week I'll be chatting with successful Pacific people from across the globe, unpacking their stories and more importantly, picking out insights, lessons and golden nuggets you can use to live your best life too. Thank you so much for joining us on the Global Pasifika Success Podcast. It's really great to have you along. This week we've got an amazing guest, our first guest from the States and also our first guest with Tongan heritage. So it's great to get around the Pacific Islands. His name is Viliami Tuivai and he's a success coach, a keynote speaker, an author and a radio show host for Island Block Radio that runs out of Hollywood, California. Viliami is a dude that I've been watching from afar, and I know that sounds a little bit creepy, but on social media, I'm able every day to draw some inspiration from him. He's a really upbeat, positive, faith-filled guy, and I knew that I really wanted to reach out to him, especially him being located in the States as well. Viliami, it's so great to have you on the show.
Andrew, my pleasure. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
How's it going over there with the COVID-19 lockdown?
Oh, everyone is on lockdown. As you well know, there is a segment of every society that will complain, whine, and blame. But for my family and I, and for those people that are champions in my network, we're just grateful. And we're dealing with it as everyone else is in the world, just one day at a time.
So, being a keynote speaker and requiring face-to-face workshops and things like that, how has it impacted your line of work?
Yeah, the month of April, I've lost over 10K, 10 grand alone. Wow. Just in keynotes. I was already scheduled for 3 keynotes and then also was in discussions to finalize on 2 other opportunities. 45% of my one-on-one clients, their companies were paying me to coach them. So all of us are feeling the impact. But I do know this, I am grateful for God's grace in my life and that I and the majority of the people in my family are safe. I have one cousin, Kalolaine Tapelava, who lives in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania on the East Coast here in the States. She's the only one in our entire family that has gotten this disease. So, all things being said, I think we're good.
Wow, sorry to hear about your cousin. I hope she heals quickly.
Yeah, she's a nurse, so she's on front line, essential worker here dealing with this, and she's in good spirits, and she's on the recovery side. So we are really happy and grateful for that.
That's great. I usually start with the backstory, but I just want to get into it because you've lost 10K in revenue. You've built a brand around personal branding, which is kind of rare and unique for Polynesians and Pacific people. Can you just tell us about your work currently that you're doing?
Yeah, as you alluded to already, the very first thing it is that I was doing in terms of an actual career after university or graduating from college at the University of California, Davis, is I was a football guy, a football coach, a sports coach. And I really felt this calling that I could create my own brand and be a speaker. All of us in Polynesia understand where it is that we first started speaking in front of people. White Sundays, family home evenings. And that's where it is that I actually started. And people asked me, did I ever have any formal training? And I did not. And so from that into doing what it is that I am now, I just so happened to speak at a free corporate event for a health systems event in Boise, Idaho, during the time and the tenure of me coaching full-time at Boise State University. I pinch hit for our head coach who could not speak at this event, and I've been getting paid ever since. Andrew, it was not a plan. It was just grace, right? Where time, place, and circumstance hit, I had my own aspirations and dreams to be a head football coach in NCAA football, and it just rang my heart and soul in terms of 2 things. I had no idea the economics that speaking could provide for my family and I. And then, really, I work 3 hours a day from home on conference calls with one-on-one appointments. And then I speak from anywhere between $50 to $275 a minute. to speak a language that I did not know when I first came here to America. So it's not like I don't want to come across like I know what I'm doing. When I was young, I have always wanted to be a keynote speaker. This is all just by grace, where an opportunity presented itself that I wasn't even trying to capitalize on, that I just went and put really my best foot forward, garnered me some value from the marketplace and people in the audience to go. Right when I stepped off stage from that first keynote, I spoke about character, integrity, and work ethic. 3 things that I felt that the championship teams that I've been a part of, they were offering me thousands to speak for 15 minutes. And so this was in 2007. And I was just going, boy, just to speak? You know, because it just, for a lot of us, we conversate, garage talk. You know, we just chat, kava conversation. We just are great with that. But now be able to monetize that, I just really had no idea. So I don't want to come across as this was always my dream. It was something that happened. And then I saw that as a trajectory because of the free time that it afforded me and my family, where I was all about faith and family. But really everything I worshiped at the time was football, winning games and winning championships. So really that's how it started, to becoming a keynote speaker. Then from keynote speaking, blessed to be able to be asked by the companies that hired me for a one-time event to coach their national brands in 8 markets throughout the United States on a bi-quarterly basis. So I would visit with their restaurants. So I coach and am the success coach for Corner Bakery, Denny's, Jack in the Box, and Popeye's Chicken nationally. So right now, those were my events that I wasn't able to do this month, where I was going to travel to Texas, Idaho. I take care of the Oklahoma stores, New York, Buffalo, New York to New York City, New York, Colorado. So it translated into that. And then I did an event, and one gentleman asked me, hey, I'm looking for a life coach. And I was just telling him, I appreciate that. Maybe in a couple of years. Right now I'm focusing on speaking. You know, I want to be the best speaker in the world. And he just wrote down on a napkin a number. And this is how this deal happened. I didn't plan it. He goes, would you be my life coach for this? I looked at the napkin and I said, you just hired yourself a life coach. So all of these things, it's been such a miracle, grace. And at the same time, you know, in anything it is, there's no easy. I've had to learn the hard way. I've had to go into industries and figure out not to say things like micromanage. In national agencies, state departments, or county or city jobs, they don't like that word. So because I had no formal training, your boy just figured that out by failing. So that's really the story now. And so now I am still a keynote speaker. I do corporate coaching for companies, and then also small group coaching. So a insurance company with 5 employees, they would ask and go, hey, this is my budget. Can you come train my team for 3 to 4 hours? And my team and I, Javon Luke McGilbra is my team director. We would just come up with a number that works in terms of a business transaction. But you know, your boy grew up poor here in the U.S. So if I'm not working that day, I make it work, right? I grew up on I grew up on free and reduced lunch. We grew up very humble beginnings here in the States, as in many multiple areas throughout the world. Our island people, it's normal, you know, multiple families in one home, living in the garage, having the living room sofa be my bed for many months until we figured out the next situation. So from that, I still take this poor boy mentality that, man, if I can get paid $400 to go speak to an elementary school or a small company, I'm in. I just want to bring value. And then now, as of recently, 1 year now, I have the Coach V show streaming out of Dash radio stations on the Island Block Radio family with Joey Kawenga and also Joe Savage. And we're the only island people that have a station in Hollywood, California. So there is no other media outlet that's Polynesian based, and I get to have a 1-hour show on that station.
Man, There's so much that you covered there, and it's amazing what you've done. I'm blown away, and I'm not trying to jump in and make noise and just be wowed by it, because I want listeners to hear exactly what you're saying and what you're articulating. But if we go back to that point where you had to speak for the head coach who couldn't speak, did you think you could do it? What was going through your mind? Because I feel like that's the intersection where you took that opportunity and then your life kind of transformed. How old are you? What were you doing at that? Were you the assistant coach? And what was that like, getting up on that stage?
Yeah, I was a recruiting coordinator and the linebacker coach. So I was an assistant coach on that staff. I didn't think I could do it. I mean, I just knew I could do it. Mm-hmm. Just because of the fact that in coaching, teaching, being a pastor, being a university professor, these are all the same things in terms of laying out to people a knowledge and experience, facts, figures. I mean, that's what I did as a football coach. What's different is the dynamics that I bring, because I'm not a professor. I go wild up there. I have people clap. Some companies, they crack me up. They're like, hey, look, you can talk about whatever you want. We just want your energy. Do the haka at the end of it. And, because that energy, they're not used to in the industry. There's guys like Tony Robbins and those guys are phenomenal. Those are the guys that are giants in my industry. But to answer your question, I did, because of the fact that that's what I've been doing since standing in front of church and going, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. So this was just a different stage. And then I blew it away and I got a standing ovation. And I talked about, again, 3 things. And so I did expect, just like a championship football coach and the teams that I was a part of, I prepared. I had the vision. I expected to succeed, but I also put in the work and the preparation to be successful.
So let's talk about that. Then you expected it. You had the mindset for success. You knew and you had visualized it. But the things you drew on were the things from your childhood and your culture, like the White Sunday, like the stuff in church and standing up and singing as a family. What do you say to Pacific Islanders who get to that junction and then they we've seen it, eh? People get to that junction and they say, especially down here in Australia and New Zealand, I think that we're less brazen and less confident and we're a bit scared to jump over to the line of arrogance. So what do you got to say to people who are scared to kind of walk on eggshells on that line of confidence and pride versus arrogance?
Oh, yeah, that's a really good question. And I remember our discussion on that when we first just started chatting up. And really, let me start by saying this. It doesn't matter what race you are, what color, what creed, where you live geographically. Public speaking is a top 5 fear. So I can understand why people would be tentative to speak. But in terms of walking into what I call your destiny and having any hesitation into doing that, whether it be in speaking, becoming an entrepreneur, launching your own business, getting into a field that no Polynesians or someone that you've never, ever seen do anything like that. Because all of us that are Polynesian, we have uncles, aunties all over the place that are pastors and public speak. But, not many do we see do it on a corporate level or a sports level or the law firms, United States Secret Service, Los Angeles Police Department, San Francisco PD, and then within the Asian law enforcement, the national, like you don't see guys or girls or women that look like us that are paid to go and talk about how to be successful in that. And that just takes some major audacity, in which case I talk about to all of the industries and my one-on-one clients and everywhere I go, it's like, why not you? If this is what you feel, either that you have been blessed to do, or that if you're not a person of faith, and then you just feel like in your heart, this is your calling, go out there and take a swing. Go try it out. Go try it out, because of the fact that, believe me, we have our haters, our doubters, our critics, and our family that tell us, no, stay in the safe lane, do this and do that. But our own self-doubt, most of the time, are the things that hinder us from taking action on our dreams, hopes, and aspirations and moving forward. Because it's not like none of us that are doing what you're doing with your podcast or what I do on the Hollywood radio show. How many times do I walk in my Hollywood radio studio and go, dang, what am I doing here? You know, it's like I'm interviewing this millionaire on the Coach V show, a Tongan dude named Viliami Tuivai. It's like, I have those emotions. I have those doubts as well. But two things, doubt is just it is just an alert for you to up your game, to better your preparation. Doubt doesn't mean you can't do it. Right? That's what doubt is. Doubt's telling you, hey, this is real. Make sure you're prepared. That's what doubt tells you. But in spite of the doubt, in spite of the fear, in spite of the self-doubt, the negativity that you may hear around you, in spite of that, everyone that you see that is successful or doing what you do, they still feel the same thing, baby. But despite that, they kept on doing and going forward, failing forward, succeeding forward, and progressing along the way.
That's awesome, man. So where did you get this level of self-confidence and belief? So you're a migrant into the States from Tonga?
Yeah, man, I grew up in Pomona, California, baby. And in the 90s, Pomona, California, during the cocaine time here in the States, Miami was the #1 murder capital of the country. Miami, Florida. If you've seen Miami Vice, that's what I'm talking about. All of that comes from that era, the 90s. And then East Palo Alto, where a lot of Usos and Tongans, they live in the Bay Area, was #2 in America. In America, East Palo Alto. And then so Palo Alto, where Stanford University is right across the freeway from there. Pomona, where I lived, was #3. So there's no half-stepping. And I was an athlete. So there's two things. One is because of the fact that I grew up playing sports. I never could afford it until I hit high school. My last 4 years, it was free in high school. But every time that I could play in a free program somewhere, I played sports. That helped me big time with my confidence. And then two, man, in the hood, if you don't speak up or walk with some confidence, because all the Bloods and the Crips in my neighborhood, they'd see me, the Crips will see me wearing red, but that's my school uniform. And they'll be like, hey, what's up, young brother? Do your thing, man. We'll be there watching you on Friday night. So then I understood that there's a value to being who it is that I am as a person. And not just because of the fact that I played sports or because I rolled with the Halafa boys, Tongan Gangsta Crip. You know, we have all that all over Southern California. But because of the fact that I'm 5'10", 220 pounds now. I was 5'10", 185. Do you think they're going to pick on the big old 6'4", 300-pound Samoan? No, they go like this. They go, what are you looking at? And they look at this dude, right? So I got to be ready to roll. And even though I've gotten my butt whipped plenty of times, I was known in my neighborhood. I've got my butt whipped up plenty of times, walking home by myself, by a Mexican crew or a black crew that tried to jump me. And they were like, I was like, bro, man, I know your cousin, Tyrone. And I was like, oh yeah, V, what's up, man? And because I got my butt whipped and I walked that way again anyway, that's where that confidence comes from. It's like, yes, the consequences of this may be that I get hurt or fail, but the regret of walking another way, I can't live with that. I can't live with that. So that's where it comes from.
So paint us a picture for those of us here in Australia, New Zealand, and other outside of the States. You said there's a lot of Samoans and Tongans up at East Palo Alto, in the Bay Area. There's also a heavy concentration in LA. But what is it like to be a Pacific person in the States? That gang stuff, and that's what we see on movies. It's kind of surreal to us. So what's it like living in this as a Pacific person?
So I do have a lot of family in Onehunga, right? I have family in Brisbane. So I hear about the hood, and I think that is very similar because ignorance and misunderstanding is a socioeconomic aspect. It's just not an aspect that has to do with culture and upbringing. Let me premise that.
Right.
In saying that, I do feel that the Polynesians are like the middle ground of everything. So say if you would have, because I've been to the prisons to visit my family, if you have, everybody rides their own car in the pen here in the jails. So if you have the white supremacists on this side, and then, you know, the black power folks on this side, and you have the essays or the here, like the Polynesians, they just leave them alone. And it's the same thing on the streets. Now, if you got beef and you're a punk, you're going to get dealt with. The law of the jungle is the same everywhere. I believe it's the same there, correct? But the thing that we at Island Block Radio and the rest of us that's trying to, like you, pull up our youth, my nonprofit, we have coached or trained over 3,500 kids for free in our free camps, is that we understand that there is a value put into this Polynesian mystique of family, togetherness, village, strength in numbers, absolute loyalty, ohana, you know, they call it on these Disney cartoons. We understand that the number one movie star on the planet is Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, right? And during one of our Island Block radio shows is one of the writers for his new sitcom. That's like, there's that sitcom Fresh Off the Boat. Have you heard of that? Is that down in Australia? So he put in for a bid for his sitcom and it got funded like that. So there is a value and an understanding and also a reverence, because Polynesian brothers will usually whip your butt and all of the Polynesian sisters, right? There's a reverence there. Right. But then there's also this this respect for family and understanding how because when we accept the Meaulis or the Uliulis or the African Americans, I mean, they know they're like us. They are us here in the States. They know that either we're all good or we're all bad. Right. So there's a certain level of respect there and reverence. And I think Polynesians do just respect other folks, right? They do their deal. So here in the States, I get a lot of respect. In the 90s, Viliami Tuivai, people would struggle with that. But now you turn on the TV and there's like Samoan, Tongan, Hawaiian, Micronesian, Guamanian. There are players all over sports, all over movies, right? They're everywhere now. Right. So it's not something where they're just like, when I got here in the 80s, you know, they're like, Tonga, where's that? Is that in the middle of Africa? No, that's Togo, bro. That's not. But, you know, Americans are not good at geography, period. U.S. geography, let alone world geography. Right. But for us to come from what I hear you talk about, from the vastness of the Pacific, and now all the studies showing that before Christopher Columbus even had rowboats that could we were sailing inner island. So there's a lot of respect out there. And here in the States, we get a lot of love, respect, and reverence. And we're grateful for that.
Awesome, man. You talked about, you know, people getting up there. Like, it wasn't normal for a Viliami Tuivai to be on mainstream media or, you know, at the front of stages, on top of stages with heaps of people following you. Now there's people like Justin Sewer, yourself, they're in the States who are on these stages. What was it like for you building a personal brand, knowing that wasn't really the norm back in 2007? Because in 2020, the likes of Gary Vee and those big influencers are saying, man, document, create content, create a personal brand. Without a personal brand, you're not really going to get that far in the digital age. You've been doing it since 2007, so you're a trailblazer in that regard. What was it like building a personal brand in the context like 2007?
Well, I was working and getting paid by someone else, which I do tell anyone out there that's trying to be a speaker, work on the side gig part-time that'll pay you full-time, like speaking, and don't alienate your main job. So that was something that I was juggling when I first started. But just in terms of building a personal platform, there are basic fundamentals to every industry. And in our industry, to survive and to thrive, being able to do video. Just being a speaker doesn't cut it. You need to be a speaker. I mean, we connected because I posted stuff. Andrew, I've never seen you like one of my posts on LinkedIn, right? But we're connecting. Connecting because you don't know who's watching. And now that's flipped to you don't know who's watching. And now you must expect that everyone is watching. So it's different now, right? Everyone is watching. And now if you're good, they'll watch longer. Really now the number one commodity in our society is the eyeballs and attention. Attention, yeah. Right? So now if you can bring some value, you will carve out a spot in the marketplace in whatever industry that you're doing. And whether it is you have a bakery or you have your own business company, you're doing a shop car, doing services, or you're online doing some type of services there. If you bring the value, you will carve out your niche. But in terms of what you're asking, I mean, it's not if I should be doing this online content, posting stuff on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, my personal Facebook, YouTube. It's a must because that's really the social proof that gets you these big gigs. Like Gary Vee gives all his stuff away. And then the dude makes $1 million a day every time he speaks. Right. And then Brendan Burchard, he does it where in terms of, he doesn't speak in terms of principles, but he does courses, online coaches, where the speaking for him is where he gets paid to actually promote. That's something. Let me say that again. That when you're actually speaking, not for the money, but so that you can promote your brand and introduce your brand so that people will consider everything else that you're doing. Online courses, seminars, masterminds. So that's where this space is going. And I'm way behind it, but I'm going to do everything it is that I can to make sure I cover the basic fundamentals and move forward as the great giants in my industry are doing.
So you mentioned you got a team, and I've seen that, you know, it seems like you've got a media team to document and stuff like that. How big is your team and what does that entail? I have an office person and 3 videographers and photographers, because in this business, you've heard the term, if a tree falls in the forest and doesn't make a sound, did you hear it or did it even happen? So if I spoke, and if you saw what I posted on LinkedIn today, I was in front of like 800 people speaking at a massive conference, right? But if I don't post that stuff, no one will ever see it. And this is a different day and age from the 80s and 90s now, because in the 80s and 90s, Tony Robbins had to do infomercials. Remember when Tony was doing infomercials back then? So that was his internet. Because the law of business is that you have to go from an unknown commodity, or what's called in Scientology, a non-existent, to a known commodity, to a trusted commodity, to a fan. And then what you have is a repeat customer or loyal customer. That's the way it goes. Right. So in what we do is you have to get on these radio shows. For me to sit around speaking in Southern California and get a call going, hey, would you like to have a radio show on Island Block Radio? I'm like, hey, Q, what's up, man? What kind of show you want me to have? It don't matter to us. What do you want me to talk about? It don't matter to us. How long do you want it to be? They didn't care. They were just going, we just want you. We're sitting here in Hawaii watching a 2-minute video of you going, how come this guy doesn't have a show? If I didn't post that stuff, right, you wouldn't have found me. The boys from Island Block Radio wouldn't found me. Now I have a worldwide broadcast of 90 to 110,000 people listen to me on a Mono Motivation Monday worldwide, right? But it's funny because you still don't see it. Right? You still don't see it. Like I still film from here in my home or film in studio. But then when they tell you the numbers and then you're going, 90,000 people? So then what that means is only a matter of time. Just like where Tony was with his infomercials, this is what I need to do to make myself go from a virtual non-existent. Many of the people in your audience are going to be like, who's this Tongan brown coconut pineapple that speak this Yankee talk from America? Who is this dude? Right? And then, so now there's another opportunity for me to open up so more people get to know who I am. And then you bring value to that, like your show.
brings major life value, not just business value, not just to make money. And I get that money is needed because nothing is more suffocating than having no money, right? But then you actually combine all that stuff. What if we talked about business, life, marriage, how to raise kids, how to bring up our community together? Because if we didn't think we were not interconnected before COVID-19, better understand if there's an animal in Wuhan, China that can influence the entire world with a disease, what about some success, real value stuff? Like you're doing, right? Real talk.
So let's have a look at the content then. If we're bringing value, the value you're bringing is really, I'm thinking about human potential, human condition, and humanity, and absolutely emptying the tank and making sure that with God, whatever God designed us with and for, we're going to go and step out into that. In terms of your clients, what is the biggest barrier to reaching and fulfilling human potential that you come across, and how do you deal with that?
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt, this is the main subject that everybody wants to get to right away. Work-life balance.
All right.
Everybody. They're like, V, I'm killing it over here. You know what I mean? Because in America, the statistics are proven, right? In America, if you make $300,000 a year or more, there is a 0% divorce rate, right? But when you talk about happy marriages and fulfillment, so if you're knocking it out on this side, but then you feel like you have no balance where you get to see your kids and see your wife, or they're very good at what they do and they don't have the strategy to make the kind of money that they want, or have the career in terms of the opportunity to advance and promote. So those are the three things. It's either B, man, I got all this money, but I just hate life, right?
Wow.
And then number two is like, hey, V, I'm very good at what I do, but I don't make no money doing it, right? And then number three is, hey, how can I take this that's real good and how can I make it better, right? And for those, the third one, how to make it better, is usually strategy. To make more money is usually like design, to make sure that you really design what the marketplace and what the people want. Too many of my clients, when they meet me, their product and their service is according to what they like and love. Yeah, that's why you started the business. But if ain't nobody buying your stuff, you ain't gonna make no money, right?
Yeah.
So then what they needed to do is figure out really according to what they love to do, and they could start a business and do that, is how they can make more money doing what they love to do, offering services and products that people will actually buy, right?
Yeah, it's like that thing where people don't, if you're selling Band-Aids or plasters, they won't know they won't need it unless they know that they've got a cut.
Yep. Yep. That's part of it.
So you have to put yourself in the market shoes. I think a lot of Pacific people probably have experience, insights, and IP that they can productize to take to market, especially those around 30 to 40. And that might be the barrier for them to go out and live their own entrepreneurial journey. Is that what you're seeing?
Have I experienced that exactly from Polynesians?
I think there's a lot of motivation. I think there's a lot of motivation for people who think they're designed for more. They want to jump out of their jobs and do entrepreneurial stuff. But the process to swing from employed to employee or employer is a process that is pretty foreign. But it sounds like you're dealing with that with your own customers, in terms of your clients saying, I got this passion, but I'm not making money.
Yeah. So what you're talking about is going from the owner mindset, going from the employee mindset to the owner mindset.
Yeah. How do you get over that?
Yeah, because the owner mindset is, I'm accountable and I'm responsible and I'm the one to blame if things go wrong. There is no fallback. That's why the majority of people, which I don't blame them, they won't leave a 9-to-5, or what we call here in the States, their regular job. They dabble. They dabble with their side gig, their DJ, or, they don't want to make that jump. But they don't realize, very similar to, Jeff Bezos doesn't come from the retail industry. He jumped into an industry that he didn't even know. The guy from Netflix that came over and took the mail by DVD service, he's not an insider. So he was able to transform his thinking and their companies by thinking a different way. So it is a very intimidating deal to leave a lucrative contract job like I was in football, where here in the States, we get paid cheddar and undeservedly so, but that's just what the market pays, right?
Yeah.
And then to leave that, and then, I'm knocking it out my first year, and then for the next 8 months, I ain't making jack. So it's going through that and understanding the consistency, the discipline, the ongoing design of your calendar to come up with an end result, come up with how to start it, and then connect with the right people to help you move your vision forward, right? And that's why I have a team. Can I write my own invoices and email my clients of when to schedule for their appointments and one-on-one time with Coach V, to send contracts to all the people that, yeah, I can do all that. But at some point, being a professional, there now starts to be certain aspects that you give off to other people. So the main thing is people won't even start. They won't get out of their comfort zone and leave the guaranteed paycheck for what they figure is a risk. And Mario Andretti, the famous driver, he comes down there to the Gold Coast and he drives around right there. They have that racing deal down in the Gold Coast, right? He says that if you're not risking and going faster and you're staying in control while you're driving, you're not going fast enough, right? So that's the same thing of being an entrepreneur, is you won't do that. And then the second thing is, once they become an entrepreneur, they dabble. You end up with the wrong people, that they don't believe in you. They just believe in the paycheck or trying to get paid. They have their own ulterior motives. But the team I got right now, we make money and we do gigs and we do all that. But they're really in this brand because they believe in me and the vision that I have to bring major value to people, to do two things: to work to be their best and live their best life. So when you're blessed to have that, but the only way to get to that is to go through all the untrustworthy and the people that never show up on time, that never do half the shit it is that they say they're going to do, right?
Yeah.
That's the entrepreneurial way. That's the only way to get to that. And there's no shortcuts. So that's why being an entrepreneur and launching your own stuff is very difficult, very difficult.
Okay, so a lot of it is that fear bit, right?
Yeah.
So it's fear of jumping out. How do you coach people across that chasm?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'd start first and foremost by talking about the two innate fears that everyone is born with. Do you know what they are?
No. Fear of judgment, I would say, because that's one of my fears.
That's one of them, right? But the ones that we're born with, per what scientists say, is the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises, right?
Oh, really?
So the fear, like you hear a boom, it doesn't matter how courageous you are, you're going to react like, oh, what the, right? So so when we go over the fear of a person, I go over a couple of acronyms. One is I do feel, and these acronyms I didn't make up, they've been around forever. And the giants that are in my industry that are amazing, they use these acronyms as well. And fear stands for false evidence appearing real. That's the majority of what people do. They focus on what they don't have, the relationships they don't have, the network they don't have, the skills they don't have, the equipment they don't have, the money they don't have. Well, I'm just going to go back to my job tomorrow, right? But if you focus on the things it is, and let me also say, this is no easy feat to jump out like this, is really the fact that you must believe in you. And I teach this to my nonprofit camps. It's just what I call the Coach V belief code that says, and I say, repeat after me. So Andrew, act like you're my client, okay?
Sure.
Say, I believe in me.
I believe in me.
Say, what I believe
what I believe
will be.
will be.
Say, respect all,
Respect all,
fear nothing.
fear nothing.
I will not be bullied,
I will not be bullied,
and the bully will not be me.
and the bully will not be me.
I believe in me,
I believe in me,
and what I believe will be.
and what I believe will be.
Most of the time, our fear comes from a conversation of self-doubt, of focusing on what if I fail, the things that my mom and dad will say. My brothers and sisters would have told me, they told me so. My cousin and my aunties were like, why did you leave that amazing job to do something no one in our family has ever done? Versus positive affirmations were like, well, if he's for us, who can be against us?
Yeah.
Right? As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table for me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, and my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. That's just not for church. That's for entrepreneurs. That's for living your dream, right? But what most people do is their self-conversation is just defeating, let alone the haters, right? My uncle was like, hey, coach, hey, uncle, hey, I heard you left Boise State. Where you going? I'm going to go be a life coach. Bro, you don't need to be a life coach. You need one life coach and go back to your job, right? So not only are you going to have the haters and the critics and the people that genuinely care about you and your own interests, your self-interest, your welfare and well-being, they're going to tell you no way, right? But only you, because you are the key. You, me, and we are our own key. For things to change, we must change. And if we don't change, nothing changes. But if we do change, everything changes. If we do get better, everything gets better. We don't get what we want. We get what we work for and believe in, and the things it is that we want and will chase in terms of our success. Now, those things will chase and come after us. That is the law of grace. That is the law of blessings. And that is the law that these people also call, that don't believe in faith and religion, they call the law of attraction. And this stuff doesn't happen because Coach Reese says so. This is what life tells us all.
Man. So this is another fear, and I love, man, I just feel like going and running at a brick wall or something right now, but this is another fear, the fear of expectation. When you put yourself out as a life coach, or as an expert, because if you're providing content, you have to provide content as an expert or a thought leader. The expectation that follows with providing content, how do you deal with that?
Oh yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. The expectation is, so there's certain things, and if you watch every single video, they're going to tell you this. If you're trying to be a thought leader and you're trying to jump a YouTube channel, then you look at every other video that's within your niche and you make videos that people are like that, because the algorithm is set to where whatever's the most searched thing will have the most traffic. Okay. So is that starting to answer your question?
Yeah, but actually as a life coach who's mentoring other people in life, the expectation that your life has to be, it's kind of like the Christian thing, or the, you know, like if I put myself out as a Christian, the misconception is that I've got it all together when I'm a Christian, because I absolutely don't have it together.
That's right, brother. I mean, so one of the things that is the reason why people connect with me is because on the social media platforms, these are usually the numbers of why they connect with me, or the facts. They've heard me speak live. They've been around me in person, and they watch me on social media to see if the stuff it is that I talk about actually reflects in reality. But really, I am not the key for other people's success. I just talked about it and alluded to that. I tell every client, repeat this after me. I am the key. I am the key. When I change, everything changes. So really, as a success coach, it's coming down to the questions. So here's the number one question for most people it is that are lacking success. Why is it that you know what you should be doing, but you don't do it? How many people do that every day? How many people know that they should be not eating more fried chicken and take a walk around the block and get some cardio instead and stay away from the soda? So there are certain things that you just need someone else. Not everybody, but they need somebody to go call you on your bullshit and hold you accountable. And then I tell them, hey, these success coaching sessions, the only time that I am done is when you tell me these two measurables, I am going to make $10,000 more, and they send me an email that show that on their profit margin. And I'm going to take my wife out to a date night twice in the next 2 months, and they don't text me with a selfie that they're at a restaurant. Game's over. Because if you're not going to do it and be accountable to me, that means you'll never be accountable to yourself. As a success coach, I think all success coaches, what they're really trying to figure out with their clients or the group it is that they're coaching or working with are what are the questions? What are the questions I need to ask to really find out what this person needs to focus on or is missing? The majority of the time, it's either some type of self-belief issue, discipline issue, or actually being punctual and doing the stuff it is that you agreed to do. Those are like three things that are just out the wall. The main things for the highest level people it is that I coach is they have no life balance because they don't design their calendar. They allow the job and the career to outline their calendar, and they fail to put in their holidays, what they're doing at Christmas, what they're doing at Easter, what they're doing for Valentine's. They even fail to book a reservation to have Valentine's with their spouse because their job goes, when is the kids' birthdays? When is the anniversary? When is the spouse's birthday? When you put that in first, that's when you start to get this perception of work-life balance. But they fail to design their life. Then second, they'll design and put it on the damn calendar, but they won't do it. Right? So those are some examples of what I face with some amazing people that are just needing a little something. Now, Andrew, I must tell you that when I first started doing this, I thought I could coach anybody. I could motivate and inspire anybody. But then I figured out really quickly, I don't want to deal with everybody because I don't want to deal with rookies. I want to deal with championship folks that are already in their industry and working at a very high level. And then all I do as a championship coach is just help them take that extra 10%, find that extra 10% of time with the kids, with the wife. And then so that they are not with me so that I give them the motivation, but they become self-motivated, self-inspired, and self-belief in themselves. That's the mission. And at some point, people are like, hey, so what time is our session next month? I was like, oh, you don't have a session anymore. You're done.
Really?
Oh, yeah, they'll pay me money. They still want to pay and be my client. And I was like, bro, it's time for you to fly. You know, with this coaching, I can help somebody else. You need to go, well, coach, can I just hook up with you, every other quarter then for like once every 3 months? I'm like, sure, we can do that. But you need to stop studying. You need to stop talking, watching Gary V, Coach V, Tony Robbins videos, and you need to go out there and start acting, right? Right, Andrew? I mean, you got to start acting because we all know. And we talked about this in our first call. Faith, success, and love are nouns that work better as verbs. Because without action, faith, success, and love are just words. So at some point, or what scripture says, what does scripture say? Faith without works, dead. So I didn't make this stuff up. This has been around forever. But then also it makes sense, and that's what I've experienced. So that's what I try to bring to my clients, brother.
Awesome, man. So you were at Boise State for a number of years.
8 years, yep.
And then you coached at UCLA, was it?
Yeah, no, I was a volunteer at UC Davis. So I was only in two places. Yeah, I played at UC Davis. That's a Division II school. UCLA, that's the Pac-10. Boise State was in the WAC conference. They're all the big boys. That's the Division I level. I played Division II football, and I started my volunteer career at UC Davis.
Boise State, you were coaching, right, though?
Yes.
Also?
Yes.
And you had a huge success rate, I read.
Yeah. We won a ton of championships. Let me see if I can grab this real quick. Here in the States, every time you win a championship, you get a ring, Andrew. So, we were able to win a couple rings here and there.
Holy 2, 4, 6, 8, 9.
Yeah, I think so. Something like that. So yeah, we were able to formulate a way to be successful, not 1 year, but 2 years. And that's what I tried to bring into a company or an organization that I work with, is how do you pattern and come up with a life process that gives you every probability to succeed according to your goals or your pyramid, or what it is that is the mission and the vision of a company. Because of the fact that I've experienced that. The hard part, just like jumping, is wondering whether my teachings about life would translate to business. See, millionaires don't really give a shit what you know. And most people don't care what you know until they know how much you care. But then you start flashing some bling, then they go, okay, wait a minute. Now that equalizes the playing field between me and a millionaire, because I'm not a millionaire. I don't pretend to be one, and I'm working on my way to be there. But the life fulfillment, the joy, peace, happiness, and love is really always the core. That's the reason why we won at Boise State. That's the reason why I have succeeded in life. I get the fact that we need money. I already alluded to that. Nothing is more suffocating than not having money. I grew up poor in this country. I ate government cheese and government bread. I was 76 pounds from 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Here, that's 11, 12, and 13 years old. I was sticking bones because we had no money. I get all that. But if you can get this piece, the money and the success will come chasing you. Whether that's in football, in business, on a radio show, on your podcast that's going to be global and worldwide. If you chase the things that really move the dial and move the needle in humanity, like joy, peace, happiness, fulfillment, and love. So the videos that you do on drama, people shaking their ass, and all the fights that are going out there, that'll get you more views. That'll get you more views. That's not the juice of life. That's not the juice.
Right. Man, I'll bring it to a close with this question. Coach V, what's your mission in life?
Yeah, that's a good one. So really, my mission in life has always been the same, and it's written down in terms of my mission statement, is to make sure that I love my family wholly and I live the purpose that I have been anointed to live in this life. And should I do that, at the end of my life, I will not question if the people it is that I love knew I love them, and that I would never question, did my life matter on this planet? That I did something for someone other than myself because of the fact that I was in a position to, and I did it.
It's beautiful, man. And I'm not sure that many of us have such clarity around our mission in life. And that's really the purpose behind why I wanted to start this podcast, because I know Pacific people, especially Polynesians, Melanesians, Micronesians, have so much to offer the world. If only we can design our life according to the design of God and get to our deathbed and think, I did what I was called to. Now it's time to go home. So I really appreciate your insights, man. Do you have anything else you want to say before we wind up? I really appreciate your time, your wisdom, your discernment, and your insights.
Oh, first and foremost, man, it is my pleasure and an honor to you not know my story, not even meet me, kind of feel my vibe. We've never met in person, and to have it, to be requested to be on your show, just hugely grateful. And the passion that we have, and you said the words like design. If you don't design your life, if you, me, and we don't design our life, we leave ourselves susceptible to be designed by other people for their goals, by the politics that are divisive on the entire planet. We leave ourselves to be designed by the mission of our company. And so I would leave on this, and it's a poem. And it really says this, and it says that if you think you're beaten, you are. And if you think you dare not, you don't. And if you'd like to win, but think you can't, it's almost certain you won't. And if you think you'll lose, you've lost. For out of the world we find. You see, success begins with a person's will, a champion state of mind. If you think you're outclassed, you are, because you have to think high to rise. You have to be sure of yourself before you could ever win a prize, because life's battles don't always go to the strongest woman or man. But sooner or later, the one who wins is the one who thinks they can. God bless you. God bless you all that's on this show. One love and mad respects always. It's your boy, Coach V here, out here in California, USA. Love y'all and God bless.
God bless you, man. Malo Alpito. I'll have all your links and all the things associated to you on our show notes. What a way to go out, man. I don't think there's going to be a better outro in the podcast than that.
And it just so happened the rings were here. And yeah, man, I appreciate the opportunity to close out, brother.
All right. Thanks, Coach V. Really appreciate it, bro.
Appreciate you, brother. Anytime. One love.
Peace. Thank you, man.